My stepdaughter made false essay accusations after I refused to give her money. So I took legal action to expose her lies. I'm a 45-year-old guy with a steady job at a small manufacturing company. Never in my wildest dreams did I think my whole life would get turned upside down just because I said no to someone. I'd been married for 3 years to a woman who brought her daughter, Chris, into our lives. When Chris first came into my life, she was quiet and withdrawn. I tried to give her space while showing I cared through occasional gifts, designer clothes, a new phone, things like that. While we never developed a close bond, I thought we at least had a basic level of respect between us. Everything changed a few months ago. Chris, now 19, cornered me after dinner one evening. She waited until her mom was upstairs, then casually asked me for $5,000. No explanation, just a shrug and you can afford it, right? We weren't wealthy by any means. I'd been saving for a long-delayed vacation and saw no reason to hand over that kind of money on demand. So I said no and asked why she needed it. She just rolled her eyes and walked away, muttering under her breath. Later that night, she called me in her room saying she wanted to talk. When I came in, she asked for the money again. I repeated my answer. Like I said at dinner, I don't have that kind of money for you. Her response was chilling. You'll regret refusing me. The next morning, everything fell off. My wife wouldn't look at me, and my stepdaughter glared like I'd committed some terrible crime. Then my wife stormed into the living room, eyes blazing with fury, demanding to know what I'd done to her daughter the night before. When I asked what she meant, she hit me with accusations that made my blood run cold, claims that I'd made inappropriate advances, that I'd tried to corner her daughter physically. My wife showed me footage from the camera in Chris's room. It showed me entering the room, but conveniently cut off after that. My heart was pounding as I insisted this was a disgusting lie. I wanted to call the police, get everything properly investigated. But my wife's reaction sent chills down my spine. She didn't want an investigation. She just blindly believed her daughter, hurling threats and insults at me. She was completely convinced by that deliberately edited video. When I tried explaining this was about money, she accused me of gaslighting them. Meanwhile, my stepdaughter hovered nearby, smirking subtly whenever my wife's back was turned. That smirk told me everything. This was deliberate. My refusal to pay had triggered something ugly in her. My wife ordered me to pack my bags and leave our home, or she'd report me. I stood there stunned, facing two women I thought valued honesty, now painting me as a monster. I knew I needed help. I called a lawyer who'd previously helped me with a minor property dispute. He saw me immediately, and after hearing my story, laid out the harsh reality. If my stepdaughter made formal accusations, I'd be facing a serious legal battle. False accusations are tough to fight, but not impossible. He urged me to stay calm, gather evidence, and avoid lashing out. According to him, these cases often hinge on credibility and motive. The fact she'd asked for money first was crucial. I decided to fight back, but I needed a plan. I refused to roll over and lose my career, reputation, and everything I'd built. The next day, I focused on strategy. When I left the house, my wife had made it clear I wasn't welcome. I carefully gathered some belongings, trying not to appear hostile or confrontational. My stepdaughter watched from the hallway, arms folded, a small grin tugging at her lips. It turned my stomach. She clearly understood the power of her accusation, how a single word could wreck a man's life. Yet there she stood, smirking like she'd won some kind of game. I moved into a modest motel room a few miles away and started combing through old text messages and emails. Nothing explicitly connected her money request to the accusation, but I knew I needed more. My lawyer advised against meeting either of them alone, but suggested that carefully recorded conversations, if legal, could help. In my state, I could record phone calls as long as one party consented. That night, I tried calling my wife to reason with her, to ask for mediation. She answered furiously, spitting threats but refusing to discuss details, just repeating, "You know what you did." I recorded every word. While that conversation yielded nothing useful, I noted her complete refusal to consider evidence. The next day, I tried reaching out to my stepdaughter directly with a carefully worded text. Can we talk about what happened? If you feel I've wronged you, I'm willing to listen, but I'm confused. You asked for money, I said no, and suddenly these accusations appeared. I'd like to understand. Hours later, she replied, stay away, or I'll post the video on social media. Perfect. Another threat to add to the evidence. I forwarded it to my lawyer, who said it was a good start in showing a pattern of threats, but we needed something clearer. Following his recommendation, I hired a private investigator to look into whether my stepdaughter had done similar things before or if there were witnesses to her entitled behavior who might support my version. It was expensive, but with my reputation and freedom on the line, it was worth every penny. Meanwhile, suspecting my wife might be trying to frame me for a financial settlement and divorce, I took preemptive action. False accusations can force a man to flee, to sign anything to avoid jail, especially when the accuser threatens to escalate. To counter this, I immediately filed a petition with the court for a formal hearing. If they wanted to accuse me, they'd have to do it under oath, where false statements could bring perjury charges. The tension escalated when I received a letter at the hotel's front desk from my wife's lawyer, suggesting I should settle amicably by paying a large sum to keep matters private, essentially hush money. The irony nearly made me laugh. They wanted me to pay to protect myself from their own lies. I took that letter straight to my lawyer. Now we had something tangible, an attempt at extortion. Armed with the hush money letter, my lawyer helped file a formal response. We contacted her lawyer, stating we were aware of the false accusations, had evidence of extortion attempts, and were prepared to involve authorities if they didn't cease immediately. The following morning, my stepdaughter took things to a new level. She posted the video on social media with a completely made-up story, claiming I was an abusive stepfather who had sexually assaulted her multiple times. The accusations spread like wildfire and were destroying my reputation. But then she messed up. She left me a voicemail trying to threaten me further. In it, she said something that would come back to bite her. If you had just given me the $5,000 I asked for, this wouldn't have gotten so bad. That voicemail was exactly what I needed. She had just admitted to blackmail. We took the voicemail straight to the police. My lawyer explained that while sexual assault accusations are taken seriously, so is extortion. We presented everything: the voicemail, the lawyer's letter, all communications. The detective listened carefully, asked questions, and noted this could be a case of attempted extortion through a fabricated assault claim. They'd need to investigate thoroughly. A week passed with Chris's video spreading rapidly. Then I started getting calls from relatives. Not only was the video circulating, but my wife was spreading rumors too, telling people I was dangerous, using the video as proof. Some relatives reached out concerned. I calmly explained the situation, even played the voicemail for a trusted cousin, who was shocked and agreed to testify if needed. People who knew me well found it hard to believe I'd do something so vile. But those who barely knew me might believe the lies. I realized public perception could turn against me without careful action. Then the private investigator came through with crucial information. My stepdaughter had a history of manipulating people for money, including an ex-boyfriend who left town after she drained his savings, and a former friend who said she demanded cash to keep quiet about fabricated drama. These past victims found me through the video Chris posted on social media, recognizing the same tactics she'd used on them. They offered to help gather evidence against her manipulation. She'd used the same playbook with them, recording vague videos and threatening to damage their reputations if they didn't pay. They'd been too scared at first and sent money, but she kept demanding more until they'd had enough. Armed with all this evidence of her pattern of blackmail, we filed a defamation lawsuit against my wife and stepdaughter. Their lawyer reached out to mine, suddenly sounding nervous and conciliatory, asking to resolve things without a trial. The threat of perjury, extortion charges, and exposure had clearly spooked them. I refused any deal that didn't include a full retraction and signed statement admitting they lied. My lawyer agreed this was the best approach. If they wanted out, they had to come clean publicly. I braced myself for the final showdown, knowing it could explode, but I wouldn't settle or pay a dime. The meeting took place in my lawyer's office. I arrived early, feeling calm for the first time in weeks. When they walked in, they looked tense. My stepdaughter avoided my gaze, fidgeting with her phone while my wife, once so confident and fiery, now looked hollow, as if the weight of her lies was finally hitting her. Their lawyer cleared his throat and announced his clients were prepared to issue a statement retracting their allegations. He pushed forward a document that clearly stated the accusations were fabricated out of anger and financial frustration. It included an apology for damaging my reputation, signed by both my wife and stepdaughter. But I wasn't satisfied. This isn't enough, I told them. I want it notarized and I want it public. You spread these lies far and wide. You don't get to whisper the truth privately and walk away. They hesitated, but their lawyer knew we held all the cards. Public retraction was their only way to avoid a trial and possible criminal charges. A week later, they posted a formal apology online and sent copies to key family members. My stepdaughter's voice cracked during a private video call arranged through the lawyers as she admitted inventing the accusation because I wouldn't give her money. My wife confirmed she'd blindly believe her daughter and tried to extort me without evidence. They looked defeated, forced to surrender their pride to avoid harsher legal consequences. Once they'd followed through, I withdrew the defamation suit as agreed. But I wasn't about to maintain any relationship with them. I filed for divorce immediately. My wife had proven she'd stand against me without evidence, and my stepdaughter's mask had shattered to reveal her cold entitlement. The divorce moved quickly once the truth was out. Her credibility was shot, and the court sympathized with my position. Within months, it was final. My stepdaughter got nothing from me. No money, no settlement, just the public shame of being exposed as a liar. My ex-wife moved out of state, reportedly trying to start fresh where fewer people knew her story. I focused on rebuilding my life, throwing myself into work and reconnecting with friends who'd supported me through the ordeal. The experience taught me that standing firm, using the legal system properly, and refusing to cave to blackmail pays off. True justice takes patience and nerve, but watching entitled liars face the consequences of their actions made it all worthwhile. Looking back, while the ordeal was devastating, it revealed the true character of people I'd trusted and showed me the importance of standing up for the truth, no matter how difficult the fight might be. Sometimes justice requires you to weather the storm, gather your evidence, and trust that the truth will eventually prevail. Thank you so much for listening to my story. If you have any thoughts, I'd love to hear them, so please leave a comment. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you want more stories like this one.